All right, we're in section 7.4, which covers quadrilaterals. So, what do you know about a quadrilateral? Well, you know a quadrilateral already is a four-sided polygon. I know you know that. That is nothing new. Now, the diagram that I'm going to put on the page in the next slide will show the properties of different types of quadrilaterals and how they relate it. When identifying a quadrilateral, use the name that is most specific. What do I mean about that? Well, if I gave you a square, you could tell me a square is a rectangle, because that is true. However, I want the most specific name. So here are all my quadrilaterals. Now I know you've done these before. However, we're going to take this one step further and make sure you understand what all of these symbols mean. So first off, anytime you see these like little marks, red arrows indicate that the sides are parallel. So for example, in this trapezoid, these red arrows mean that those sides are parallel. These two tick marks mean that those two sides are congruent, and then these with one tick mark mean that these sides are congruent. So a quadrilateral breaks off into three separate things. We can have a trapezoid, we could have a parallelogram, or we could have a kite. Now a trapezoid is a quadrilateral that only has one pair of parallel sides. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral where opposite sides are parallel or congruent. A kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of congruent adjacent sides. That means the two sides next to each other are congruent, and opposite sides that are not congruent. Then a parallelogram can either be a rectangle or a rhombus. And then more specifically, a special type of rectangle and rhombus is a square. We're going to start off really easy, and I want you to classify the quadrilateral. Now in A, you could tell me that's a rhombus or a square, a rectangle. That's not the most specific. Obviously, this is a square because all sides and angles are equal. In B, what do we have here? What do you think this is? If you said a quadrilateral, you're wrong. That's not the most specific name. And a lot of people think this is a trapezoid, but we don't have any sides that are parallel. Because we have two sides that are adjacent and congruent, we have a kite. Key idea. The sum, you already know that the sum of all of the angles of a triangle are 180 degrees. The sum of all of the angles of a quadrilateral is 360. So the sum of the angle measures of a quadrilateral will add up to 360 degrees. So in algebra, we could write w plus x plus y plus z would give me 360 degrees. So example number 2, find the value of x. Well, we know 3 of these angle measures, so the equation I could write would be 70 plus 75 plus 115 plus x equals 360. Now if I added those up, that would give me x plus 260 equals 360, combined like terms. By the subtraction property of equality, I subtract 260 on both sides, and that would give me the value of x as 100. Not 100 degrees, just 100. The angle measure is 100 degrees. The value of x is 100. In example 3, you're going to take and you're going to draw a parallelogram with a 60-degree angle and a 120-degree angle. So the first thing we're going to do is take our protractor and you're going to draw a line. So any line would do. So you're just going to draw a line, and from that line you're going to start by drawing a 60-degree angle. So as you can see here, we've drawn a 60-degree angle. From there, on the same line, you're going to slide your protractor to one side, and then you're going to make a 120-degree angle. And the 120-degree angle should go in the same direction as the 60-degree angle because you're drawing a parallelogram. So opposite sides should be parallel. Then you're going to connect, as you can see right here, you're going to connect a segment on these two rays to make a parallelogram. But here's the key part. These opposite sides have to be parallel and congruent. The same thing is true for the left and right sides. Opposite sides must be parallel and congruent. And you'll notice that I've marked arrows on both the parallel sides on the opposite sets, as well as showing that opposite sides are congruent. So now in this chapter, there's no new vocab words, but make sure you know the characteristics of all of the quadrilaterals that were presented to you in the first couple slides.